Wagwan Sleek family, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a project that not only shook up dancehall when it dropped, but also stood the test of time. I'm talking about VIKING, Vybz Is King, released in 2015. Now fast forward to 2025, it's been 10 years since the world boss gifted us with this body of work. And even after a full decade, fans still argue that VIKING was his strongest prison era album. But why? What made this project so iconic, and what does it mean today when Kartel's name still echoes across dancehall like a ruler who refuses to step down? Now stick with me as we break down the music, the message, the impact and the legacy of VIKING. Trust me, this is gonna be a deep one. To understand why VIKING was so important, we have to step back to 2015. Dancehall at the time was in a transitional phase. Vybz Kartel had already been behind bars for a few years, and many people were asking, can he stay relevant? Now on the outside, Mavado was still trying to keep the gully flame alive, and Popcorn was stepping into his own as an international artist. Dancehall fans were divided. Was Kartel still king, or was the throne up for grabs? Then came VIKING, at a time when the conversation was about who could possibly replace Kartel. He dropped a project so strong it reminded everyone that the world boss doesn't need to be physically free to dominate the culture. Now let's get into the heart of this discussion, the tracks. VIKING wasn't just another compilation, it was carefully put together to show Kartel's versatility. Now let's start with the dancehall. Now this was the anthem. Kartel wasn't just making a song, he was making a statement. Dancehall belongs to me. The beat, the flow, the confidence, everything about it screamed authority. Even fans who weren't hardcore Gaza supporters had to admit this one stamped his dominance. And we can't forget tracks like Time, which tapped into more personal, almost reflective territory. These kinds of songs are why Kartel's catalog feels so broad. He could make you dance, make you think, and make you feel all in one project. Taken as a whole, VIKING was a reminder that Kartel's creativity was endless. Even behind bars, he sounded sharper than most free artists. One thing people still debate to this day is how Kartel was able to stay so active musically while incarcerated. The rumors, the theories, the conspiracy talk, it's all part of the myth around him. But with VIKING, the strategy was clear. Kartel wanted to show that his voice couldn't be silenced. Every track felt intentional, almost like he was responding to critics and competitors directly. Now, from a business perspective, this project was brilliant. It wasn't just about music, it was about branding. Vybz Kartel was solidifying the world boss identity. Fans felt connected, like Kartel was still in the dancehall with them, guiding the culture. Now remember, 2015 was also the rise of streaming platforms, and Kartel was one of the first dancehall artists to benefit heavily from online streaming. Even without physical presence, his digital reach was massive, and VIKING became proof that his fan base wasn't going anywhere. And when VIKING dropped, the streets responded instantly. Sound systems were blasting tracks that every dance, radio stations couldn't avoid it, and selectors knew the people wanted Kartel, Kartel, and more Kartel. Internationally, the album also turned heads. Fans overseas were impressed at how sharp and relevant the music sounded. For many outsiders, it was their introduction to Kartel's prison-era dominance. Culturally, VIKING wasn't just an album, it was reassurance. It told fans, don't worry, Gaza is still active, the king is still in control. That level of reassurance kept the Gaza movement alive through uncertainty. Think about it, how many artists could be locked up and still control the narrative for an entire genre? That's why Kartel is different. And VIKING was a perfect example of that difference. Now here we are in 2025 looking back at VIKING. Why does it still hold so much weight? For one, the songs age incredibly well. Listen to dancehall today and it still sounds fresh. Secondly, the influence on the new generation is undeniable. Artists like Skilly Bang, Massacre and others who came up after 2015 all carry pieces of Kartel's style, whether it is wordplay, the flows, or the boldness. Fans also see Viking as the project that officially cemented Kartel as unstoppable. Before it, some doubted his longevity. After it, the argument was finished. Kartel wasn't just relevant, he was untouchable. To really appreciate Viking, we have to place it in the competitive landscape of 2015. Mavado was still respected, but his momentum wasn't the same as before. Popcorn was making international moves but hadn't yet fully broken into superstardom. Then Kartel drops Viking from behind bars. Now imagine the frustration of his competitors. How do you outshine someone who isn't even physically free? What Viking did was widen the gap. Kartel wasn't just another artist fighting for a spot, he was the standard. If you couldn't match his level of output or creativity, you weren't really in the conversation. And that's why many fans in 2015 crowned him the undisputed king of dancehall, even from prison. So what does Viking mean to us now in 2025? Well, it means resilience, it means legacy. It means that no matter what situation you're in, true talent and influence can't be locked away. Now, Viking at 10 years proves that Kartel isn't just a dancehall artist. He's an institution. And this project is a landmark in his career, one that fans will always point to when they talk about why Kartel is the world boss. The big question now is, can 2025 bring us another album that captures the same energy? Now, Kartel has surprised us time and time again, and maybe the next Viking moment is right around the corner. But until then, we celebrate a decade of a project that reminded the world who really runs dancehall. So Sleek family, let me know in the comments which Viking track is still your favorite in 2025, and do you think Kartel has another masterpiece coming? Now, respect for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Sleek Dancehall. Until next time, World Boss for life.